Do you know Julia from RYSTA? You don't know Julia from RYSTA? We have to change that because Julia is a magician. Julia can make CO2 emissions magically disappear. Sounds weird? It's not. Because Julia, or her company RYSTA, makes buildings feel people. She generates sensitive buildings. Now, sounds even weirder. I'm going to explain. Now, how many big buildings are there on this planet? Millions, right? Ministries, schools, universities, all kind of office buildings. And they all produce CO2 because we have to heat those buildings, we have to use air condition, lights have to be there. So this generates up to 40% of global CO2 emissions. Buildings, not only the construction, but also the maintenance, the heating, the air condition. And RYSTA changes that. She reduces the air condition, the heating and the lighting of buildings by having the rooms feel the people. How does that work? Now let's take a ministry in Berlin. You have 1,000 people working there, right? These 1,000 people want to have it nice and cozy, so it has to be warm. So you're going to heat up the whole building. Let's say 20, 21 degrees. Takes you 12, 24 hours of heating the whole building. The people only work 8 hours. So you're heating the building 24 hours to have people work there for 8 hours. And the bad thing is they don't even spend those 8 hours in the room because they go to the toilet, they go having lunch at the canteen, having a cigarette with a colleague or having a chat in the conference room. So of those 8 hours, they only spend like 5 hours in the room. So scale that up globally. We're just burning energy. And RYSTA changes that because RYSTA has sensors in every room. And the sensor knows when people exit the room. And if there's nobody in the room, the air condition goes off, the light goes off, the heating goes down. So all of a sudden, the room will serve the people by heating the room when people are there and keeping it colder when they're not there. If you scale that up on a global basis, we could save up probably to 10-15% of CO2 emissions without freezing. Imagine that. So Julia is a magician, as I told you. Now, what does Julia need? It's a great invention, but why haven't you heard of RYSTA yet? Well, because she's fighting the same uphill battle that every impact startup fights. Not enough investment, thus a very small team, and in Julia's special case, a very demanding target group to talk to. Because Julia has to sell RYSTA to public people, right? To people working in ministries or universities or schools. Now, people working in the public sector are not the most adventurous, visionary, courageous people. So she comes with a new invention to people who don't like new inventions. That's a big problem. Now, how to change that? What strategy could I recommend to Julia to really make RYSTA pop? I call the strategy the book critic strategy. That also might sound weird, but it's kind of easy to understand. Now, Julia acts at this moment like an author. She writes blogs about the temperature reduction of buildings, about CO2 emissions of buildings, and tries to present RYSTA as an authority. That's smart, but it generates competition because all the other companies working in the field see RYSTA as a competitor. And it doesn't generate trust with the target group because if you talk about yourself being great and being an authority, people tend to not trust you in that. So the book critic strategy turns the whole thing around. If Julia didn't write about RYSTA, but about other people, this would change. Julia should write at LinkedIn and her blog and everything, should write about people working in ministries already reducing temperature, already making a change. She should write about CO2 reduction emission initiatives in the public field. She should shine the light on other people who already are going the way that she wants to go. Thus, she'll have two effects. First, she'll generate allies because people will see that she writes about them, and people will be reciprocal and give something back, so she finds allies. And the second factor is, slowly but surely, she'll grow as an authority because people will see her as a book critic. Book critics don't write books, and book critics are not creative, but book critics shine the light on others who are creative and write great books. So, book critics are respected by the audience and the authors. That's the strategy. In general, if you want to generate the smell, the reputation of authority for yourself, don't talk about yourself. Talk about others that are great. Elevating others, in the end, elevates yourself. That's the strategy of the book critic. If you want to know more, then jump over to 17 Academy or join Geeka because we're really making impact networking here.